أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله أصحابه أجمعين. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm very grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and particularly to the Muslim American Society for gathering all of us. It is almost certain that we have broken the attendance record even from last year, and last year we had surpassed 40,000 takbir. I want to make sure that as you go about the rest of today, the last day of the conference, the convention, that you take a minute to thank the volunteers who have been working for months to prepare and have been on site, working day and night to make sure we have a great experience. So please, inshallah, thank them, and especially tonight, during the entertainment, make sure to behave. Make sure you follow their instructions so inshallah, we can have a great experience. I want to thank and build upon what our beloved Sheikh Abdullah Uduro just shared with us. Although he does bodybuilding, I do academic building, and inshallah, I'll do some more of that now. On this topic of the guiding principles for driving change, I've been working on a model that comes from the Quran and the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm trying to build that into the guiding principles that I think will be helpful for us. Again, I'm a student of knowledge, so you're welcome to critique and hopefully do better than whatever it is that I will be sharing. There are 5 general principles that I think we can derive from the Quran and the seerah, and they are to acknowledge, to appreciate, to analyze, to assess, and then to advance. Indeed, alayhi salatu wassalam was sent as an unlettered prophet. And there is wisdom in that, because what he was about to preach, what he was about to convey, what he was about to share as the new paradigm for the transformation of a society that had reached the depths of ignorance. Much of that ignorance is still rampant today. In the 21st century, despite all the advances that have been made, we still see elements of all of that jahiliyyah, and we are surrounded by it. And alhamdulillah, we are privileged and honored to be following the message of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was taught to acknowledge. In the Quran it says, "Qul siru fil ard." Many different Surah Ankabut, Surah Naml. Travel through the earth and see the end of those who came before you. What was that like? What was it like? Even the mujrimun, the criminals, are specifically mentioned. And so the people of Gaza are telling us, although they're being bombarded, the justice of Allah is clear. The justice of Allah is infinite. So acknowledge that those who came before us, all of the civilizations that had their rise and fall, the prophets that came to them, Nuh alayhi salam, for 900, the Quran says 1,000 less 50, so 950 years of da'wah. Ibrahim alayhi salam, who in the Quran makes a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi aj'alni muqim as-salati wa min dhurriyati. Oh Allah, it's saying in Surah Ibrahim, verse 40 and 41, indeed, make me among those who establish salah. And he's at a time when the civilization is worshiping idols. They're engaged in idol worship. Those are physical idols. We have replaced that now with all kinds of other idols. But then he includes you and I. If you are sitting in this hall, if you are listening to this lecture online, when he ends the verse by saying, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, he is including you and I as his descendants. And what a blessing to be in 2024, thousands of years after he existed on this earth, that we are the answer to his dua. And we just finished Salatul Asr. We'll pray Salatul Maghrib, and we are among those who establish indeed the Salah. And of course that verse goes on, but for the sake of time, I'll keep moving. Coming closer to home, we have to acknowledge the fact that the African American community, all of their contributions, if you don't know, just go to One Life. Sheikh Abdullah mentioned Malcolm Al-Hajj, Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. Allah yarhamhu. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I was raised. If you study the life of Hajj Wali Akram, who in 1937, as a Sunni Muslim established, the name is called the first Cleveland Mosque. In 1937, it is still, and inshallah in 2037, it would be the only longest continuously operating masjid in these United States. He had a 10-year plan for self-sufficiency. He wanted to teach his African American community Arabic. He didn't rely on white society to print his materials. He had his own printing press. But we don't know this. So we must acknowledge. Moving on. And sorry, before I move on, the other acknowledgement is the efforts of our immediate predecessors. Hafidhullah, Dr. Jamal Badawi, Dr. Suleiman Yang, who passed away in 2018. Their tireless efforts to share the teachings of Islam on the principles of the Sharia, to explain what is our belief system, our worldview. After 9/11, their tireless efforts led us to where we are today. Our children must know them. They must learn their life history, inshallah. Moving on to appreciate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in the Quran basically says, أَفَلَا تَشْكُرُونَ. You wake up and you are breathing, able to live and survive. You go to bed in a comfortable home. In homes now that have bedrooms that are not occupied. Food in the refrigerators and freezers untouched. أَفَلَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Won't you give thanks? Appreciation is central as a guiding principle to drive social change. Why? Because when I stop appreciating, I become self-centered. It's all about me. It will always be about me. And when I'm triggered is when everything is not about me and I'm not the center. Our children have to be raised in a way to understand that alayhi salatu wassalam, who was given everything, forgiveness before, during, and after everything was done, he stood in salah for so long that his feet swelled. His beloved wife Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha said to him, "Why do you do this? Why do you still do this?" And he said, أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Shall I not then be a grateful servant? There is no breaking of chains. There is no driving breaking of the chains and driving and change happening. If we have children and a generation coming up that is so self-centered that they don't even appreciate their parents, their siblings, their grandparents, their uncles and aunts. And then of course the masjid community, the beloved imam. Stop the culture of cutting down the local imam. Cut it out. The children hear you. They hear you. If it was a bad khutbah, go in private and say, I don't know what was wrong, but today it wasn't all together. Don't talk negatively about our leadership. Go in private and talk to them and say, it's not working out for us. You are not getting it. Whatever you're doing is relevant to the needs of our community. We are with you. We will donate, we will support, and we'll give you feedback and make sure that you stay on the right path. Third is assessment. Third is analyze. Analysis is the cold, hard facts. What occurred? What are the facts about what happened? No assessment yet. That's the next stage. In the Quran, we are shown that this is what happened. Nuh alayhi salam is calling his people, laylan wa nahar, by night and by day. Analysis, what is going on? Cold, hard facts. They don't believe him. What are you talking about? There is no flood that's coming. You're building a ship to rescue us from what? What are you talking about? The analysis is clear. His own son defies the guidance. The analysis is cold, hard facts. Alayhi salatu wasalam comes to Mecca, begins his da'wah in Mecca. The analysis is cold, hard facts. The Quraysh literally said what Americans said, some of them after September the 11th. They are trying to destroy our way of life. That's what they're trying to do. With this Islam thing, they're trying to destroy our way of life. And his own people said, وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا We are going to continue to follow that which we found our fathers doing. You are coming to destroy our way of life. Analysis will tell you that emotions must be kept aside. I have to keep my emotions out of it and just look at the facts. What is literally happening here? What is happening here? And what can I learn from what is happening here? Then I go. And by the way, analysis is tadabbur in the Quran. Tadabbur is a deep state of reflection. Make time every day, just a few minutes. If you live in a city that has heavy traffic, take that as a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Turn off the radio, turn off podcasts, turn off everything, and just reflect. Just reflect. Who am I? Where am I headed? What are the societal challenges around me? Am I a consumer of everything that is being done, or do I contribute anything? Do I give good thoughts? I have expertise. I'm a professional. By day I do this, but by night I cut down the work around me. By day I build for a salary, and by night I tear apart my community. No, I tear apart my family. No. Literally, you have to think about this. What is the impact of that? Tadabbur will bring you into a deep state of reflection. And of course, there's not so much to say, but the alayhi salatu wasalam, as narrated by Abu Dhar Ghifari, he said, there is no wisdom. There is no wisdom like reflection. There is no wisdom like reflection, and no honor like good manners. This is from Ibn Majah. Moving to assessment, and inshallah I'll start to close from there. In assessment, you have to be able to step up and have some metrics by which we assess. This is what happened. These are the cold hard facts. This is where we didn't succeed. This is where we succeeded. So we repeat and continue and refine and improve quality control, quality improvement. Here's where we didn't do well. What should we do? Gaza, and we can't just keep saying it without, there's goosebumps because we just say it now. I personally am committed to people. And I saw text messages coming in real time. Real time. Sheikh Alauddin al-Bakri, Hafidhullah, who conducted the nikah for my marriage over 26 years ago. He messaged a group, and I thought he was saying something else. He said, Al-Bakri family gone. Al-Bakri family gone. And I thought it was a family chat. They left somewhere. He lost 22 members of his family. Assessment will tell you that this idea of chasing identity, politics, of representation, of trying to be at the table only to get eaten alive never worked. Never worked. And we have to say, if all that leverage of 20, 30 years of work could not stop a genocide, isn't it time that we assess and we say, hey, maybe if we go back directly to the Quran and Sunnah, maybe if we listen out of assessment to say, the Ghazawis are telling us, if you believe in the Quran, your assessment leads you directly back to the Quran. And I'm telling you, the highest density of Huffaz anywhere in the world is in the Gaza Strip. That land is blessed. It's protected by the Quran. Yes, we see death. Yes, we see horror. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, will restore that land and bring back the izzah that belongs to Gaza. Why? Because they said to us what the Quran said thousands of years ago, 1400 some years ago, when the people gathered the army. الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسِ إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ. The people were told, they have gathered massive armies against you. فَاخْشَوْهُمْ is a way to say, fall apart out of fear. Complete fear and utter, basically run away. What did they do instead? The emotions will lead us to understand. It is and only can be. فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانٍ. Their iman increased, and then they said, وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. We do not rely on the United Nations. We do not rely on elected officials. They literally only care about their next life, which is the next election. We have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but do our work. Do our work. The assessment should lead us. If you are in Michigan, look for an organization that has been formed called Amin for empowerment of Muslims. They are now strategizing as a swing state to gather with other swing states and then to plan an annual conference so that nobody ever takes the Muslim vote for granted. We are not for sale. Our principles are not for sale. No matter what you say or do against us, you will not shut us down. Why? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam made a dua, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Make me among those who establish the salah, and make my durriya, my progeny, my descendants among those who establish the salah. Every time you raise your hands in dua, you are literally the answer to the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Brothers and sisters, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil is a two-point equation for this guiding principle. It leads us to say, Allah is sufficient for me. My children need to understand that. My job is not my rizq. My rizq comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I speak out against the genocide and they attack me and I lose my job, inshallah, it is what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests you, it is not to destroy you. When Allah tests you, it is not to destroy you. When He removes something from your possession, it is only to empty your hands for an even greater gift. Ya Allah, for an even greater gift. At every turn we are being shown by the Ghazawis that they are, believe me, this principle of persistence and constancy. And let me start to close with advance. So as a professor, it's acknowledge, appreciate, analyze, assess, and then advance. Alayhi salatu wassalam, Khatimul Anbiya, the last of the messengers. And how can you say his name and not get goosebumps? How can you remember him? About him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when the Quraysh made fun of him, that nothing would advance from him. His progeny would be cut off when his beloved son Ibrahim died. They made fun and they said, you are abtar, you are cut off, nothing will advance from you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah Kawthar. Inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. Today they make fun of us. Today they attack our lands. Today they think they can cut us off from the sacred land of Palestine. We are saying to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we advance His religion, advance the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, believe me, not only will we return to Palestine, we will have the honor, inshallah, in our lifetime to pray in Masjid al-Aqsa. Ya Allah, make it happen for us, Ya Allah. We are, brothers and sisters, the answer to another statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was sitting with the Prophet, peace be upon him, in a gathering where alayhi salatu wassalam said, "Wadidtu anni laqitu ikhwani." He said, I wish I could meet my brothers. You have to feel this. He's saying, Ya Allah. And they said, they were sitting there, they were so amazed. They're like, we fought around you. We gave everything for you, and now you're saying this? You're saying that you wish you could meet your brothers? أَوَلَيْسَ نَحْنُ إِخْوَانَكَ يَا رَسُولَ, aren't we your brothers? He said, قَالُوا بَلَى أَنْتُمْ أَصْحَابِي, you are my companions. وَلَكِنْ إِخْوَانِي الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِي وَلَمْ يَرَوْنِي. They are the ones who will believe in me, in my message, but they have never seen me, Ya Allah. Our children who send salawat upon the Prophet, peace be upon him, they're bringing to life the verse, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. We're going to make your mention so noble. We have to go back to the basics. No change is coming. if we don't go back to the basics. And they include acknowledging what we know of our history in the Quran and in contemporary life, to appreciate what has been done, the sacrifices of our elders, to analyze, to assess, and do something. Whatever is within your control, do something to advance it. And then our dua is the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, standing with his beloved son Ismail alayhi salam. Rabbana taqabbal minna. That's it. That's all we have. Whatever we did, oh Allah, accept it from us. That's it. May Allah accept it from us. Jazakumullah khairan.